So Evan, thank you so much for being here. You've had a very prolific career in tech, so I just want to start off with a little bit of an intro about you, and then why and how you found Web3 and how you got into it, and then a little bit about Sui and Mysten Labs.
Yeah, I mean, I was always kind of wanted to do things that's hard, right? I mean, my reputation at Apple and then later on Facebook, this is pre-Meta time, I was doing infrastructure work that's pretty much things that other people don't want to touch. Then later on got into the religion of crypto, right? I went down the rabbit hole like many of you back in 2015, 16. So when the Libra opportunity came up, it was obvious, right? Even before that, I was already sort of like unofficially doing a lot of crypto work on the side, working with projects, bringing speakers to campus to do presentations, interviews, that sort of thing. So it was very, very natural. Because especially back then, I saw the key area that's lacking in terms of infrastructure has a lot to do with my core competences. It's in programming language, developer platform, developer tools. So it's very, very natural for me to say, okay, I'll take on that challenge, just help build Libra DM. Yeah.
All right, cool. And so just tell us a little bit about Sui and Mysten Labs for people who might not be as familiar with it.
So by late 2021, middle 2021, it was very obvious, right? The regulatory environment does not allow Libra DM to launch, and we were already talking about, we learned so much, right? We started to have some ideas how to build better infrastructure, solving a lot of different problems. We're not quite there yet, but we have great people. They are very, very eager and very, sort of excited about continue to build in the space. So we decided just, come out, right? And then we'll figure out what we build. So it's just a little over 3 years for me. September 2021, which is left. Okay, I told the company I'm leaving. 5 of us are leaving. I'm leaving first. The other 4 will come a little bit later. We don't know what we're going to build yet, but it's going to be good. It's going to be good. And that's the start of Mysten Lab.
Awesome. So yeah, we'll get into a little bit later, like how Sui's infrastructure supports Web3 gaming. And obviously you guys are doing a lot of development on that now. But I just want to start from a high level. You've been in tech for a long time. What's your perspective on gaming within emerging technologies, and then specifically gaming within Web3?
Gaming is huge business, right? 3 point some billion people play games, right? Of hyper casual to AAA games, right? So first of all, I mean, this is probably the biggest opportunity for the space to bring normies, consumer into the space, right? Knowingly or not, right? They don't have to be crypto native. Everybody playing games, right? It's a consumer product. There's a demand for. They're not gonna fall out of favor just because the crypto market is having a correction. So yeah, gaming is incredibly important. And from the in terms of developer perspective, it's also one of those industries where they're constantly seeking for innovation, not just on the product side, but also on the business model side. So, people always talk about, hey, to build for consumers. Well, consumer enjoy what they enjoy. Consumer also knows when certain product isn't quite right? They don't like it, or they know if they're not happy if the information is being used in some way, but they don't quite know how to solve it. It's up to the builders. It's up to the disruptor, right? The one that want to sort of take that input from the consumer and do something about it. So for us, it's the obvious. It's a perfect kind of combination. This is an area that we need to invest a lot, and to have the opportunity to have the kind of breakthrough we've been dying for, right? The industry.
Yeah, and I guess touching on that, so obviously if a game is great and the consumer enjoys it, that's going to be appealing to them. But I think one of the issues that we have right now in Web3 gaming is there's a lot of stigma from traditional gamers that might be adverse to crypto or Web3. So if you were talking to a gamer who kind of just has a bad taste in their mouth about it, what would you say about the benefits of Web3?
This is you can see this coming from a mile away, right? So the first iteration of Web3 games are not good, right? There's the indie type, the kind of play to earn that has some success. That's a different audience to kind of sort of forcing the use of crypto and blockchain and NFT into a more mainstream game. when you haven't really solved and figuring out what that user experience is like, right, then you're going to have the the kind of reaction, right? I was talking to somebody, you gave me an example, it's like the experience of playing a Web3 game. It's like the first thing you do before you can play anything is like connect your wallet, right? And then you say you have to figure out which wallet you can connect. And then you say, okay, how do I deposit some whatever the tokens into the wallet to even start playing? Once you start playing, you have to press like accept, agree to something all the time, and half the time it doesn't work, right? Of course, you're going to have that kind of blowback. But I think if you do it right, the gamer don't even need to know, right? It's about you introducing new game loop, new experience, and benefit them in a way they enjoy. And then the rest is, as we're seeing over and over and over again, is history, right? Free-to-play was considered the devil, right? Yeah. Until it's an acceptable way to distribute your work. A monetization model changes, right? These things will always happen. I think people are much more open-minded than the vocal minority.
That makes sense. And I guess like circling back to that a little bit, you touched on some of the infrastructure problems around that. So maybe touch a little bit on Mysten Labs and Sui and how you guys address that, and maybe what some of the things that are possible because of Sui that might not be possible.
So when we started designing Sui, the first thing we realized there's a lot of inherent kind of an inefficiency in the infrastructure, right? So you have this kind of a very, very rigid kind of transaction processing kind of pipeline that doesn't really scale. We also saw a very, very big problem in terms of the data model. So all the blockchains are basically one giant global state, right? Even reading, you have to rely on indexer to figuring out which part is which, right? So if you think about gaming, that doesn't really fit well. So people talk about composability in the crypto sense, like one protocol talk to another protocol. DeFi works that way, but they don't really talk about asset composition, right? They don't talk about interoperability that way, right? Think about gaming, right? Everything is hierarchical, right? If you're playing RPG, you have a character, they have inventory, and inventory can be added on, removed, they can be changed. You have a history, right? Why is this, say, magic sword and that magic sword are different, right? The history, how this is being used to slay a dragon, right? And provenance, all that sort of thing. So if your data model doesn't allow for composability of the data, then you have an infrastructure that's half-baked for gaming. And so we saw all these friction, not to mention all the UX problems, like, how do you onboarding people without that having to connect wallets and like buy tokens first, that sort of thing. It's a whole slew of these kind of problems we want to change, we want to fix, right? Because our view on a blockchain is it's a settlement layer. It's basically where all the asset lives, right? What do you want to model, how the asset interact with each other. Now, like thinking in terms like accounts, which is owned by human, right? So we have fundamentally different way of thinking about modeling data and processing things, right? That led to the Sui design. So it's not unusual. Like immediately we attract a lot of attention of builders.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And obviously, these are a lot of benefits that game developers can get. I think one of the things we've been seeing recently as well is a lot of ecosystems are sinking a lot of money into developer acquisition for good games. But yet, the loyalty isn't always there. And I think it's easy for games to switch from ecosystems. So can you just touch a little bit on your acquisition strategy for developers? And
yeah, we're building a developer platform, first and foremost, right? So the first thing we need to understand is it doesn't just sell itself, right? You have to be made very clear what the value proposition of Sui over everything else. I think we have done a good job of that. So a lot of people just come to us, right? So when you have all the building blocks, they understand all the advantage we just talked about, then they understand they naturally would be curious and come talk to us, right? And the other thing we have to recognize is again, I'm going to talk Cheng, it's like, well, they need to have a sustainable business model. How do we help them do that, right? This is where our product, our business acumen, our understanding of everything come into play. That we can speak their language, we can help them sort of crafting these stories and understand what would take. And then finally, when it's like, you touch on something, there's a very little loyalty and people move between chains, right? But you understand, it's not how many developer you have. That alone doesn't win. Platforms are won by how many hits they have. They hit that transform experience and that attract more users than attract other builder, right? You want to have that loop going. So for us, it's like the combination of technology, understanding our skills, sort of, and our willingness to work with them to sort of bring out a lot of these kind of disruptive builder that build better experience, and naturally others will come, right? So we're seeing that happen. A lot of builders, like, we try to build on this. In fact, you told me last year it would not work. Now I hear you, I got it. Can we work together? That kind of stories like daily now. People say, we tried this, just doesn't work. 3 works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that only possible on
Yeah, yeah. So it's not a game of like, oh, do I give you them more money or they give them more money? That doesn't work. We're seeing that as an industry. It just fundamentally does not work.
Yeah. So you guys have been very focused in the Asian Pacific region specifically. So I wanted to learn a little bit more about that. Like, what do you think about game culture out there and how that factors into your strategy for gaming?
Yeah, so focus on gaming again, right? So people probably don't know the free-to-play model came out of Asia, Korea. Card Rider was the first one. You know, it's like they are the first one that recognized, hey, we need to change the way we think about monetizing our products. Let's do this, right? And the same thing, you know, they figured out, right? It's like give away for free, build a community, and then you figure out how to monetize off the whales, right? So Asia is always leading in terms of, you know, sort of these sort of changes in gaming. And frankly, right, if you see some of the most popular games that came out this year, or a year or so, many Asian studios, what we're seeing out of Asia is not just indie builders. It's not just like big companies. It's everybody. Everybody's embracing Web3. You know, we have out of the 4 biggest public gaming company in Korea, 3 of them are working with us. We're seeing the same thing in Japan, right? Many top studios are working with us. We have more that's coming any day out now. We're going to talk about. Yeah, they're just embracing. You know, so I think it's currently that where they're leading. So we've built a lot of kind of relationship there. So a lot of people are very, very excited about 3. I mean, just naturally we spend a lot of time there kind of working with builders.
Yeah. So now to switch to the player side of things. So in gaming, distribution is a huge factor in success.
Sure.
Right? So you guys just released the pre-order for your handheld device, Replay. So how does that, building the hardware device, how does that factor into distribution, and what are some plans with that?
Yeah, it's not just a kind of hardware play. So our partner Playtron is actually building a new gaming operating system that just so happened it allow you to play all the Windows games as well. So like a Steam Deck, right? So the hardware is in a lot of ways almost like an easy part, even though we together designed it so it looks beautiful. But it's the operating system, the deep level integration is going to be like the magic here. So people buy the device, they can play any normal, you know, Windows and Web 2 games, and they can play some Web 3 variants of the game. So this is a gentle way to introduce the concept of Web 3, and they probably will like it. They will like it because there's additional benefit to them. They know we seek out more and more of these kind of games, right? So that's what we're playing at, right? So there's a distribution angle, but to become a distribution platform, you need to attract a lot of users, which we're doing. It's off to a great start. We're really happy with about the pre-sale, and we're getting very, very happy with all the support from the builder. So that's the way, right? And then they're going to see the magic of this, right? Because all the things we're already building on the software side to make that experience seamless. It's not forcing you. It's like, you know, it's like you have to have a different device, a different environment to play Web3 games. You have to have, you know, you have something that you loved and use for all your other gaming needs, and this. So that is the way we, you know, one of the examples of how we try to solve the distribution problem.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So how do you pitch this to Web3 people versus Web 2 people? Like, how does the marketing around that look?
So for the Web 2, for the gamer, right? So we haven't really stopped pushing. There's a lot more coming. They're just going to see this as one of the many devices, and happen to be, we believe it's better. There has additional features. It's great hardware units, great spec, looks awesome. And if they're even curious, you're going to learn and say, oh, there's additional benefit. So I think hardcore, especially in the street community. A lot of people are buying it, a lot of excitement, but we're hearing other folks in the other ecosystem are very, very interested. And the game will, the device will support other blockchain as well. So Web3 is sort of almost like sell itself. Web2, like you compete with other devices, but the added benefit, added feature, which no one else has, probably we're going to make a big difference. But that's the magic of software. It's been better, if you consider all the hardware is just commodity. They're all kind of like mostly similar, just depends on the spec. But that's the way you win.
Yeah. So taking a little bit of a tangent, Sui is a general purpose blockchain, and there's a lot of blockchains out there that are focused specifically on gaming. How do you think that gaming fits into the landscape of a general purpose blockchain, and maybe how that affects other parts of
Yeah, we don't believe in a specialized kind of platform for gaming or any vertical makes sense. As a platform, especially a developer platform, you should have capability to build new and exciting kind of application without having to sort of like specialize something. We're seeing this play out over and over again, right? When we talk about specialization, a lot of times almost like going back to centralized solution to solve some of the hard problem, like onboarding problem, right? The handling your account or key custody solution, and there's a massive trade-off, right? And it's also make it very, very difficult for them to move forward and sort of like keep up with change in demands and technology advancements. So I think we believe we designed something right. It's powerful for any kind of computation needs. We thought about all the building blocks, and you would and it's already showing, right? It's great for gaming because of hierarchical kind of architecture that allow you to build, but everything else is being like the developer just loving it, right? Our DeFi just broke 1 billion TVL. By far, it's like nobody else is even close to it, that kind of growth outside of the EVM ecosystem. So yeah, it's proven to be the case.
And do you see the gaming feeding into the DeFi part of the ecosystem?
Yeah, this is the thing, right? So you think about everyone, these kind of layer 1 and 2 is an ecosystem by itself. If you think about economy, DeFi, you can incentivize, you can have yields and all that. But an economy needs everything. Economy, you need entertainment, you need culture, you need finance, you need all these kind of different activities to sort of build a vibrant ecosystem. And gaming is a big part of it. So you think about things are happening, assets are being created, assets are being used to interact with each other. You create structured products and all that with DeFi protocols, and you have consumer native asset that's coming from gaming and other kind of commerce and consumer and enterprise product. That's how you build an ecosystem. That's how you build an economy. They're all kind of connected and feed into each other.
And so what are some of the things that you're most excited for out of this Sui ecosystem in general and the Sui gaming ecosystem?
Oh man, the things I'm most excited about, mostly I cannot say anything on stage. There's some really like people just gonna be like, what? They've been building on Sui or building in Web3 at all would be surprising. But beyond that, right, we're super excited about the games that's like launching. E4C Final Salvation just launched playtest in India first. And then we have Society, Korean studio AAA shooter, pop shooter, super cute, super interesting. Samurai Showdown, a new Web3 variant. And Cheng, one of our big partner out of Korea, one of the public companies are building a social kind of platform, gaming platform. Pebble City is coming up soon. So we have all these launches coming. We have a lot of other partners that we haven't even talked about coming. It's always exciting, right? Again, like we're building a platform for others, so to build a lasting business. We love to see builder be successful and see the ecosystem become so vibrant and everybody's happy. The vibes is good. More builder coming. All that just make me happy.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Evan.
Thank you, Chris.
Here.